To stay competitive and under budget, Rays fans will have to continue to say goodbye to some arbitration-eligible players.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Rays podcast. Locked On Rays is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we are Kevin and Ulises.
And we are lifelong Rays fans who have been podcasting about the Tampa Bay Rays since 2019.
Later on today's show, the Rays are once again second to the Yankees in Hillsborough County. In a few minutes, a newly acquired righty arm could be primed for a creative extension. But to start, expect a lot of roster shuffling in Tampa Bay with a record number of arbitration cases.
And we're going to talk about all of that thanks to FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. Kevin, the Rays front office could be shuffling some arbitration-eligible players out of the Rays because guess what? The offseason means you do some math and you got to stay under budget, and that's something that we're all used to. But the Rays have the most arbitration cases in MLB this offseason.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I've heard different numbers, actually. I've heard 16, 17, 18. Let's just say it's a lot, and it's basically the most in Major League Baseball. And there is no way that the Rays will be keeping all of these 16-plus players around because, like you said, this new ownership group, for the time being, not saying that they're going to be penny pinching, but they're going to basically stay at that 80 million payroll threshold until a new stadium gets built with development surrounding it. And then they'll have the coffers to be able to add to that. So, and frankly, if we're being honest, this team, after a second straight losing season, not saying we need to clean house totally, of course, but there is some fat that needs to be cut off the bone, if you will.
And so let's go over those names, Kevin. Why don't you rattle off those names that are arbitration eligible for us?
Okay, all the names we have: Ryan Pepiot, Griffin Jax, Shane McClanahan, oft injured now, Shane Baz, Josh Lowe, Chris Morel, Richie Palacios, Nick Fortes, Taylor Walls, Stuart Fairchild, Garrett Clevenger, Brian Baker, Edwin Uceta, Cole Sulser, Kevin Kelly, Alex Fido, and Manny Rodriguez. If we're missing one, we apologize.
Right, but like you said earlier, it's been 16, 17, 18, 14. So it's been a lot of different names. However, we do know that they're the most. Out of those names, Kevin, it feels like there is some, like you said, fat to trim.
Right.
From that, because you start making some math and you start with the 2025 opening day roster budget. The payroll was around $80 million in 2025. So napkin math, people, you guys know we love napkin math on this pod. If you add up all the arbitration eligible estimates for all those players that Kevin just said, it's around $34 million. So then you add, okay, well, what's guaranteed now? What is on the books that has to happen in 2026? Well, that's $17 million guaranteed, $12 million for Yandy, and then around $6 million for Raz. I think it's like $5.75 million. And then you look at the club options, the pending, the ones that they can say yes or no to. That's Taylor Wall's option for $2.45, Brendan Lowe for $11.5, and then Fairbanks has a $7 million club option, but because of the incentives and the escalations, it could reach up to 10 to 11 million. You add all of those up, that's $75 million. So basically right around the $80 million payroll from last year. So you have to think these guys are not all staying together, not only because of the way that you specified 2 losing seasons in a row, you have to have some reshuffling, but also the payroll. They have to be conscientious that they're not going to exceed the 80 million. Yeah. And that's already I think, too close for comfort for them, that they would like to at least trim that fat, like you said.
Yeah, and I think a couple ways to trim that is Chris Morel and his $2.6 million, Nick Fortes and his $2.4 million, Cole Sulser and his $1.2 million, plus, some of the other guys that might be in the bullpen. Stuart Fairchild, we didn't hear a peep from him. I mean, there's a lot of guys, at least a handful of guys that you can comfortably part with and save a couple dollars here and there, because ultimately you want to be able to be comfortable with paying Yandy Diaz and Brandon Lowe and Drew Rasmussen and Pete Fairbanks. But you also want to try as best you can to upgrade the roster to some extent. So if you can take those extra couple $1 million and find a diamond in the rough for a guy coming back from injury, you might have to be creative and take a couple risks here and there. That's fine. But there is no way that every member that we just rattled off is going to be returning in a Rays uniform. It never happens, never will happen. But I think there's some workability here, and I frankly would start with Chris Morel and Nick Fortes. I mean, that's you add those up, and that's $5 million that you could save theoretically.
And I know Chris Morel at the end of the season kind of had a nice little hot streak, but is it enough to save him a roster spot? We think that's not the case, but the Rays did keep him the whole year, trying to see what they could get from him. And we have noted the relationship that he has with Junior Caminero.
Fair.
And the fact is, Junior had a fantastic 2025 season. So is that something that you want to mess with?
But at what point do you say, like, okay, Chris Morel is, you're going to pay him $2.6 million to be friends with Junior Caminero? You got to give me a little bit more than that.
Right, exactly. So I'm sure that that's a conversation they'll have. And I know a name that people really like, but has not produced in 2 years, is Josh Lowe, whose estimates is like $2.93 million. And Josh Lowe had a horrible 2025 season with against lefties. Like, he just looked awful against lefties. So what you're saying is the Rays would be willing to pay a platoon guy $3 million?
Possibly. I would say this. I would rather give Josh Lowe another shot than Chris Morel at this point.
I agree 1,000%. 1,000%. But guess what, people? One starter that we have not talked about is primed for a creative extension, and it's not who you think it might be.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It undoubtedly makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little extra something riding on the action. And whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel, they make the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
Thank you for joining us at Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Kevin, a creative extension is basically what the Rays love to do, and extending Griffin Jax could be a way for the Rays to minimize his salary, secure a rotation spot. They have tried endlessly, the Twins have, with getting Griffin Jax to be a rotation arm. It didn't work. Now we hear that there are plans from the Rays that could try that once again and giving him a rotation spot. And we know that the rotation depth isn't there for the Rays in 2026. Now, if that were to happen, creating an extension for Griffin Jax would minimize his salary, because obviously when you go to arbitration, we all know that starters are going to get paid more than relievers.
Yes.
So if you are able to quantify that before his translation to the rotation happens, you would be minimizing his salary and this guy is going to be a free agent after the 2027 season. So you would have 2 full years of him playing, and you could actually even buy a year of his first year in free agency if you get a creative extension with him finalized.
Yeah, that's what they've done some creative deals with both Taylor Walls and Drew Rasmussen, and I could see something similar for Griffin Jax. I know it wouldn't be the sexiest headline of, hey, the Rays extended somebody and it's not Junior Caminero. Well, you're going to disappoint some people in that respect, but it makes sense from the Rays perspective. If your intention is to build him up and foster him to become a starter, if you can try to get some money saved ultimately when he becomes a starter, that could work out well for you. And I mean, you could also get burned if he gets hurt or something. I mean, the risk of injury from going to a reliever to a starter, there's going to be risk on both sides. And for Griffin Jax, his agent might even be telling him, we don't want you to sign anything at this point, or if you do sign something, we want some incentives locked in that focus on number of games started or number of innings pitched. That way it makes it worth his while to sign that type of deal. But the Rays are going to have to figure out something, because at the end of the day, they are going to need more help and more depth with starting pitching. And if a move like this happens, then we know that they're trying to solve one piece of the pie there, that all intention is that Griffin Jax would be molded into that type of player.
And the estimate is $3.6 million for 2026. So you already at least have that base knowledge where, okay, what can we give him that for 2026 would make sense for him? Is it 15 million total for the next 2-3 years with some incentives there? Maybe he would.
I think something like that. Yeah. And again, that's guaranteed money for him too. So,
and as a reliever, are you really going to say no to $15 million that could, potentially secure your family's future? It seems like that would be a very risky thing to do. But then again, when you are playing in the biggest stage, sometimes you have to do big gambles. But with the injuries, with the volatility of the relievers, it seems like an extension could be a really good way of securing that back for your family, but also for the Rays to minimize the salary and get a roster spot secure.
Yeah, I think it could be a win-win from that perspective. And hey, even if, say, he does sign that extension and it turns out he doesn't have the stuff, whether it's the stamina or the endurance or the repertoire to be a competent starting pitcher, if he is a successful reliever, that could still pay for itself. The deal could still work out. So I would also understand it from that perspective. But the
incentives could come from starters, like you said. Like, okay, you get more money if this whole being a starter is a success. Like if you have more than 10 starts, okay, then that means that you get a pay bump. I think that's the way to do it. And then the base salary would be acting like as a reliever.
Yes, indeed. All right, we have more to discuss. Changing gears here, tourist tax dollars in Hillsborough County, they're going to the Yankees for the time being and not to the Rays.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. So let's not do that. And you can avoid that by using Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Even when you're on the go and you want to know what's going on, you can just look at the Monarch Money app and there it is. So do not let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com using promo code LOCKEDONMLB.
Thank you for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast and making us your very first listen every day. We appreciate it. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Ulises, having the Yankees in Tampa, the city of Tampa, it's a detriment to build not only a new stadium for the Rays, but also a fandom. And the reason we're bringing this up is because on Wednesday, the Hillsborough County Board of Commissioners is scheduled to discuss whether to pay almost $18 million out of its tourist tax fund for renovations to Steinbrenner Field. Not for the Rays to play in there, of course. The Rays are going back to Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, but it's for the Yankees and their spring training operations. And this is the challenge and the crux of having a major league team in Tampa Bay. You also have spring training locations and spring training facilities owned and operated by other teams that are also picking at those tourist tax dollars. Same thing if the Rays are in Pinellas County. You have the Philadelphia Phillies wanting upgrades to Clearwater. You have the Blue Jays wanting upgrades to Dunedin, and they've gotten some big upgrades over the years. But this is what makes it so tough, I think, and the challenge for the new ownership group to secure major public financing is because we're not the only game in town. We're not the only team in town. Well, heck, you've got the Lightning and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well. But on a baseball lens, you're in a sense competing with the Yankees for some of these dollars. I know it doesn't sound like a lot in the grand scheme of things of $18 million, but 10 years from now, they might be asking for $70 million for more upgrades. Things break down.
And guess what? I know this might not seem relevant to people in California. They're like, what? Why is this important? Well, it is important to us for Rays fans, okay? Because you don't have to deal with that. This is a reality as a Tampa Bay Rays fan. We have to talk about it. We have to talk about the fact that the Phillies, the Blue Jays, the Yankees take that money that could be shuffled or funneled rather for a new stadium in Tampa for the Rays, but it doesn't get done that way. In fact, it's really unnerving because there was a quote the other day by Ken Hagan. He said, "It will be paramount to have the support of the Yankees in order for a potential stadium deal to work at Hillsborough Community College. We do not want anything that in any way would jeopardize that facility or that partnership." What?
So basically, we're going to have to ask the Yankees if we can build near Steinbrenner Field.
Can we have some more, Mr. Yankees? Can we please have something, Mr. Yankee? Like, that sucks, man.
Yeah.
That absolutely stinks. And 29 other fan bases do not have to go through this. We do. So again, if somebody out there is saying, like, why are they talking about this? This is not important. This is not relevant. It is relevant. It is important. And it sucks. It stinks that this is the way that it has to be done, that we have to ask permission for the big bad Yankees to give us some sort of permission to be where we belong.
Right. Yeah. And I get it, if you're Ken Hagan in Hillsborough County, because ultimately you have, there's a lot of Yankees fans, of course, that live in the Tampa Bay area. There's Yankees fans that live everywhere in the United States. But there are specifically during spring training, a lot of people from New York or the Northeast that will come to Tampa Bay. And what are they doing? They're staying in the hotel rooms. They're shopping at the restaurants. That's where a lot of the tourism dollars go. So I understand they want to put money and help build up the Steinbrenner Field facility as best as possible, but it just makes it tough if you're the hometown team of the Tampa Bay Rays. Yeah, we're really, I guess Arizona might have the same issue, the Diamondbacks, of getting, some public financing with all the operations, all the spring training operations that are over there with the Cactus League. But yeah, it does seem like we continue to be second fiddle to the Yankees in anything and everything, unfortunately.
And the Hillsborough Community College is definitely a big talking point. Not only one, because we just had the experience of being at that Steinbrenner Field for a whole season, but because during the press conference, the new owner said that they would be looking for 100 acres. That HCC campus is 102 acres. So it's not like it's 1 plus 1, oh, really? You're looking for 100 acres and it's right there. And then these quotes come out.
Yeah. And if you're the Yankees, why would you want the Rays to build and somewhat overshadow what you have doing there? You want to keep your fans and your fan base, and anything that might jeopardize some of that. The Yankees can pretty much, I think, play hardball with this. They're
Yeah.
sort of in that position to be able to.
Now, that 102 acre spot of the HCC campus, it's state-owned land, so that means that it would go through the state governor. And DeSantis does have a really good relationship with Patrick Salupski.
Right.
So, like, Salupski even donated for Ron DeSantis's presidential campaign. So, like, that's how tight they are. So you would imagine that relationship could be leveraged into, hey, I don't kind of care what the Yankees are saying. You're the governor, bro. Like, you would hope that that's the case. But it's, again, we're early in the stages, but it's getting late early. I love that. It's getting late early because if you really want to open up a stadium in 2029, we need to see plans before opening day.
Well, Hagan also said there could be parking and scheduling issues with the Rays Stadium at Hillsborough College, though he said the Yankees have not indicated how they feel about that idea. Yeah, it might just be a situation where this new ownership group for the Rays say, okay, we don't have time for this. We got to move on to a different location. We got to move on. So, Ulises, you talking about we're getting late early. I mean, the Yankees can slow play this or say, hey, we're going to have to, hire our own consultants and engineer to see how this might impact things. If you're the new Rays ownership group, you might just have to say, okay, we can't even deal with the HCC campus. We got to move elsewhere. Let's focus on the fairgrounds. Let's focus on Ybor City. Let's focus on the 5 or 6 other locales that fit our parameters for what we're looking to do. But ultimately, look, I know that the Yankees probably don't want a Rays stadium right next to Steinbrenner Field, but there's money that could be spread around. Things could work out as far as, because it's not just going to be a stadium and another stadium. You can do some creative things with retail space, and
100%. And if it's a battery type, feel that they're going after, it would benefit the Yankees to have that close by.
Yes, it would. All right. Definitely more on this to come in the future. We're going to have more stadium talk, if you believe it. Because we're not really close to getting anywhere on this.
No.
We'll have to see what happens. In the meantime, hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you later.